So the line going around a few weeks ago was that if you're still prompting your coding agent one message at a time, you're already behind. Instead, you should be writing loops, which basically are little systems that go do the work and prompt the agent for you while you're off doing something else. And it kind of took over my whole timeline on social media. Now, I sat on this video for a bit, which turned out to be a mistake because, in the meantime, the same person who kicked the loops thing off posted again asking whether we're still talking loops or did we shift to graphs yet. And a few hours later, there were already articles up saying loop engineering is dead. So in last few months, we went through prompts, loops, harnesses, meta harnesses, graphs, and so on. And my take is that there is something real sitting under all of that, but the vocabulary is moving way faster than the actual practices. Now, loops are worth building, and most of you probably have already built one or two loops, and these are the boring ones that you probably didn't even realize that were loops. Also, almost nobody selling you this hype mentions what it actually costs to run such loops. So first things first, what even is a loop, right? Because I was confused about this for a while, and I think I'm not the only one. The thing that really clicked for me was to look at loops as two different types of loops. You have the inner loop and the outer loop. The inner loop is the one your agent already does by itself. You say fix the failing tests, and then it runs the tests, sees a few of the tests fail, opens the files, edits them, runs the tests again, and then it keeps going until the tests pass. And all it took was one prompt from you. That's the inner loop, and honestly, that's just what a decent coding agent has been doing for a while now. The outer loop is the thing sitting on top of that. It decides when to start the agent, what goal to hand it, and then whether what came back is actually good enough. And that's the whole idea, really. Until now, we were the outer loop ourselves. Loop engineering is just building something to sit in that chair instead of us. And most of that work isn't the scheduling part either. It's deciding what done really means and what is the thing that checks it, what verifies that work that was done. Now, the part that hype really skips is that this is not really anything new. People were building loops a few years ago already. We could give it a go, let it prompt itself, and walk away. It just wasn't good enough yet. The model would wander off after a handful of turns, and there was nothing solid checking the work, no real constraints on it, so it would agree with itself and move on. In addition to that, people were running all kinds of loops, right? We had the Ralph loop, we had some running Claude in headless mode of a cron job or a scheduler, and that's been going on for a while. So what changed is that we've got models now that hold up over way more turns now, and we've got better ways to build the checking part, the thing that verifies. So things like verifiers that can reject the bad output and constraints that are deterministic instead of being another model's opinion. And then the other half of it is just the convenience. The pieces ship as features now, so you're not babysitting a pile of bash scripts. For example, the goal command from Claude Code runs turn after turn until a condition you set is met. The loop command goes off on a timer instead and does whatever action you give it to do. And both of those die when your session closes. So if you wanted to survive your laptop shutting down, for example, those are called routines, which run in the cloud on schedule. Or if you'd rather keep it on your own machine, the desktop app has schedule tasks, and you can even just write some bash scripts or shell scripts that run these things in loops. And of course, the codex has its own flavor for all of this. So looping has existed for a while now, and you probably were doing it in some form or another without even realizing it. Okay, so let's now talk about harness, meta harness, and graphs because you're going to keep running into them and it kind of feels like you missed a semester somewhere. So I'm going to try to decode them quick because they're smaller ideas than they sound. A harness is the thing wrapped around the model. Claude Code is a harness itself. Codex CLI is a harness. It's what feeds the model the context, it's what gives it tools, runs the checks, and then applies the edits. And the reason people started caring more about it is that two setups on the same model can behave completely differently, and the difference is usually the harness, not the model itself. A meta harness is the layer above that, something sitting above your harness that works across a few repos at once. Remembers stuff between sessions, basically has its own memory, applies your own guidelines and skills or your company's rules and constraints and so on every run. And then the graph engineering is wiring multiple loops together into a network. Nodes that do the work, edges that route between them, state flowing along the edges, and really a loop is a single node in a graph. And if your first reaction to the graphs is, hang on, that's a workflow, yeah, I agree. State machines and workflow orchestration tools are the shapes that people have been building for a while now, and agent frameworks were already doing some of that before anybody had a fancy phrase for it. A node can be an agent running its own little loop with its own definition of done, or it can be a plain deterministic step that basically runs some kind of script or routes one thing to another, or it maybe waits for a human to approve it. And the version of that worth caring about is the review part, where you put the checking in its own node instead of letting the same agent grade its own homework. So if you're feeling behind because a new word pops up every couple of weeks, you're not. The words are mostly a marketing layer, and a lot of it is hype and engagement farming, even though the ideas sitting underneath them are fine. So what are some of the loops that are actually worth maybe implementing? The one that I keep seeing is a loop that babysits your pull requests, for example, a loop that watches them and then fixes the builds when something breaks. It handles the review comments as they come in, and so on. Another one maybe runs every morning and turns yesterday's CI failures and open issues into a file you read with your coffee, and so on. You could also have a loop that handles the dependency sweeps. And notice none of those are build my startup type of stuff. They're the small and the boring and checkable loops. So now how would we turn that kind of loop into a graph? Because as I mentioned, I was working on this video about loop engineering, and then now we're talking about graph engineering. So how would we take this loop and turn it into a graph? Right now, the pull request thing that we talked about is basically one agent, right? Or maybe a couple of agents that, it pulls the pull request and then maybe fans out some sub-agents to check the tests, look at the security side, etc. You could also have something that checks whether you've added n+1 query somewhere, or maybe you have some other constraints and rules that you want to check against. And then your agent writes all of this up and then posts it in the pull request directly. And by the time it's writing that comment, the context is already full of everything it looked at. Even if it used the subagents, right? All those subagents would, push the data back to the main agent, and then now your context is kind of getting overloaded. And plus, it's the kind of the same agent that decides its own review whether it's good enough to post or not. The graph version kind of splits that up. One node only looks at tests, one only looks at security, one only looks at query performance. They run at the same time, each with a clean context and a narrow brief. Then a separate node takes the three sets of findings and decides whether it posts it or sends it back for another round to check, and so on. And if you're sitting there thinking, hey, that's just subagents that, I've been already doing. And yeah, that's pretty much right, and you would be correct. If you've had Claude Code fan out to a few subagents and pull the results back, or use dynamic workflows within Claude Code, you've already built one of these things. The difference is who decides the shape. In a session, the model works out what to spawn each time. So on one line change, it might reasonably skip the security one, and that's fine right up until the one line is in your auth code. In a graph, you wrote that edge so it runs every time whether the model thinks it's worth it or not. So if you think about it and you kind of like zoom out a little bit and look at what you do day to day, you will notice that what you're actually doing might already be translatable to graphs, right? If you try to draw it as a diagram, you'll probably end up with some sort of graph or some sort of loop. So you will see that these terms that are being oversold or overhyped are some things that you're already doing or you might already be doing without actually realizing it. And if not, it's still not a big deal. It's something that you can pick up and learn and try to experiment with. Now, the thing that I get annoyed about is that the fantasy version that is being floating around is that you set up few loops, go to bed, and wake up to a finished product that's making you thousands of dollars. And there are multiple reasons why that actually doesn't happen. One is that the most important part of the loop is the verifier, something that checks the output to make sure that the output is actually good enough. Otherwise, if you don't have a good verifier that can reject the output, the loop doesn't get any better, it just basically agrees with itself faster. There is also a cost that isn't money. That's comprehension debt. The faster a loop ships code you didn't write, the wider the gap between what's in your repo and what you understand. And that can be okay in certain situations, but in a lot of cases, that can actually be problematic when you don't even know what's going on in your repo and you're like 100% relying on the agent to solve things for you. If you had to dig into the code, you wouldn't understand what's where. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to read every single line of code that gets generated by agent, but you should at least have high-level understanding of how your application works. And then, of course, the actual money, which is the bit that made me skeptical, because every loop iteration costs tokens, and tokens cost money. And if it fails, or if it has to retry, or if it has to gather more context, that's more tokens and more money that you have to spend. It can also wander into the dead ends and burn your tokens, whether that run actually ships anything at the end or not. If someone else is paying or a company card or an enterprise plan, none of that is really a big deal, right? It doesn't really bite you, but it's still costing somebody. It just may not be you, and the ceiling is a lot higher than yours. On a 20 or a 100 or maybe even $200 plans, an unbounded loop will eat your limits before you've got anything to actually show for it. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to share my opinion about these things. If you want to figure out whether you should be doing loops or not, if you have some work that repeats and you've got tests and you've got the budget, go build one small boring loop this week. Give it a hard stop and watch it for a while before you trust it. And from there, you can advance and write more loops. Maybe you can create some edges and connect some of these loops, which will turn into graph. So when next time somebody is talking about graph engineering, you understand what it is and you've actually done some parts of it. If you're not there yet, that's also not end of the world. I would recommend just start small, start boring. You're not behind. All right, so that's pretty much it. If this was useful, please subscribe to the channel. It's been a while since I posted a video, but I've got more of these coming soon. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.